Hello students, we had started with the morphology of the root and we had seen the different types of root systems. Now we will look at the different regions of the root. Regions of root. So let's say this is the root. I will take out this much part of the root and I am going to zoom it out. This is that portion. I have elaborated just the small portion of this root tip over here, and as you can see it has different regions over here which are looking different from each other. We will find out. On the most terminal part of the root there is a covering, as you can see. This is known as a root cap. The terminal part of the main root and the terminal tips of all these other roots as well will have this type of a protective covering around them. This covering is known as the root cap. It is protective in nature, protective to this delicate root tip which will have very delicate cells over here. I will tell you about them. They are protecting them. The cells of this root cap will also secrete a mucilage kind of a substance which will help in easier penetration into the soil. What is the need for this root cap? The root cap will protect this root tip because it is this root tip that will be digging into the soil. So root cap we will write. It is said to be a thimble-like covering. Thimble is a cap-like cover that people wear on their fingers when they are working on a sewing machine. You've ever seen someone working on a sewing machine? My mother used to work on a sewing machine, but she never wore a thimble. It looks like a very risky thing to not wear a thimble. A thimble-like protective cover covering the root tip. Such type of a root cap will be present only for the roots of terrestrial plants. It will be absent for the roots of aquatic plants. Absent in aquatic plants. Why? Because aquatic plants will not need it since they will be not digging the earth. Beyond the root cap, there will be presence of such type of delicate cells. This zone of the root which has these type of actively dividing cells, this zone is known as the zone of meristematic activity. Zone or region of meristematic activity. This region of meristematic activity will have cells which will be very small sized. They will be very thin cell walled with a very dense cytoplasm and very large nucleus. If we have to draw those cells, they will be very small sized cells which will be closely packed. They are more or less spherical in shape. They have a very large nucleus, almost filled with the nucleus because they are actively dividing cells with very less intercellular spaces. As you can see, there are almost no intercellular spaces there and very dense cytoplasm. If you describe the cells of the meristematic activity, these cells are small sized, actively dividing cells. Why are they actively dividing? Because you know that the root tips and also the shoot tips of the plant continuously grow because of the presence of these type of meristematic cells at their tips. Okay, did you know that the tips of the root and the shoot go on increasing throughout the life of the plant because of the presence of these type of meristematic cells at the root tips and the shoot tips? Not a characteristic feature of the animals. It is a feature of only the plants. So they will continuously increase in length throughout their life because of the presence of these type of meristematic cells. What are these cells called? Meristematic cells. How are these cells? These cells are different from the other plant cells in that the other plant cells will have a thick wall, but these cells will have a very thin wall. There are other differences as well. The other plant cells will be very large size and the nucleus will be small in size. Most of the cell space will be taken up by a large sap vacuole in a normal plant cell. But in these meristematic cells, these cells will be very small in size. They will have a very thin cell wall. Most of the cell space will be covered by the nucleus and very dense cytoplasm, since most of the cell constituents have to be accommodated within very small size of the cell. So the cytoplasm will become very dense. They will not have any vacuole in them. The same features will be present in the meristematic cells of the shoot as well. They will have a large nucleus, dense cytoplasm, very less intercellular spaces. So this is what you need to know about the zone of meristematic activity. Beyond the zone of the meristematic activity, there is the second zone at the root tip, and then there is a third zone as well. This second region is called as the zone or the region of elongation. The cells that are present in the zone of elongation, these cells are not undergoing division. The cells have already divided. Now these cells will only undergo elongation. They will only elongate in size. They will acquire a lot of fluid inside them and they will elongate in size, thereby increasing the length of the root. You know, the length of the root keeps on increasing. It doesn't increase because of the activity of the meristematic cells. It increases because of this zone of elongation. Okay, it is this zone of elongation which is responsible for increasing the length of the root, not the zone of meristematic activity. The cells undergo enlargement and elongation, responsible for increasing the length of root. This is an important point. This zone is responsible for increasing the length of the root. These cells are not dividing, they are only increasing in length. Once the cells have elongated appropriately and enlarged in size, what will they do? They will undergo a process called as differentiation, wherein the cell will acquire a fixed size, a fixed shape, a fixed function and structure, and it will not be able to divide again. It will become permanent. This zone, which is beyond the zone of elongation, this third zone is known as zone or region of maturation or region of differentiation. The cells in this region acquire a fixed size, shape, structure and function. Some of the cells of the outer epidermis, outermost cellular layer of the plant, is called as the epidermis. Did you know that? Some of the cells of this epidermis elongate like this in this manner and they become fixed in that shape. These become the root hairs. The root hairs are unicellular. Remember, important. Some epidermal cells become root hairs. What you see over here are the root hairs. They are unicellular and you know what their function is? They increase surface area for absorption of water and minerals. The root hairs are present in the zone of maturation, and beyond the zone of maturation, all these parts will be the zone of maturation itself. So these are the three different zones of the root. If you compare the cells of the region of maturation with the cells of the meristematic activity, you will find that the cells in this region of maturation, they will be large sized. Obviously the cells of meristematic activity will small sized. What else? Intercellular spaces will be present, which will help in conduction of the water. In fact, it is important that there are intercellular spaces in between the cells of the region of maturation. The cell wall will be more thicker over here in these cells. Then the nucleus is going to be smaller with a well developed vacuole. So these are the three different regions of the root.
In the name of Lord Mahadev, please subscribe